Welcome to the e-commerce podcast with me, your host, Matt Edmondson. Now, this is a show all about helping you deliver e-commerce well. And to do that today, I'm chatting with a fella Brit, Tony Conte from Brave Agency, and we're going to be talking about marketing, everything to do with e-commerce marketing, which I know is a topic we're all interested in, because why would we not be, right? We all want to know how to market our businesses better. So make sure you stay tuned for that. Grab your notebooks, grab your pens, because you're definitely going to want them. Now, whilst you're doing that, if you haven't done so already, make sure you sign up for our newsletter. Yes, because every week we are sending out some amazing stuff, tips and tricks from the podcast with some other bits and bobs as well. But all the show notes, all the links, they're also in there. And so you just get it straight to your inbox totally for free. So you can get a hold of that at ecommercepodcast.net. So make sure you do. And I will see you over there. Now, before we get into the conversation, I just want to give a little bit of a shout out to my mate, Darren Hickey, who connected us from Fellowship. If you're a regular to the show, you may recognize the name. Darren was on it back in November, and we talked about WooCommerce. He's a bit of a WooCommerce expert. And so Darren introduced both Tony and myself. And so Tony is here because of Darren. Yes, he is. So just say thanks to Darren, because Darren's a legend.
Thanks, Darren.
There you go. Thanks, Darren. Now let's meet Tony, the founder of Brave Agency, a digital pioneer in brand marketing and e-commerce since the mid-90s. Did a decade even exist? We don't know, do we? In 2000, he launched Brave from his garage with 0 clients and a big vision, an integrated agency where creativity, tech, and strategy unite for client success. Today, Brave turns clicks into loyal customers and helps ambitious brands push boundaries and thrive. And you know what, Tony, the thing that I love is you've been doing this since the mid-90s. Now, I started my little journey around 1997, about a year before I got married. And I started in e-commerce in 2002. So I often refer to myself as an e-commerce dinosaur.
No, not at all. I don't think we're a dinosaur. We're not a dinosaur. We're the pioneers.
That's
if it wasn't for us, then there would be no internet. No, not no internet, but commerce.
No, I'm going to take the internet. If it wasn't for me and you, Tony, there would be no internet. No. Everybody, you're welcome. That's all I can say.
We've both seen the .com bubble, haven't we? We saw it, but we saw it burst.
We did. It came and it went really quickly, and everyone's like, "What is going on?" To be fair, we've seen everything. I mean, there was no mobile phones. You didn't have to worry about mobile commerce. There was basically, you just had a website, and it took us a while to even figure out email marketing. You know,
exactly.
It's like, what? Yeah. Google just seemed to pick you up because it did. Yeah. And then it was a few years later, Google AdWords came in. So, I mean, all these things, you've sort of seen them come, and a lot of things you've seen come and go, really. So it's cool that you've been around, you know, a wee while, as they say. And you must have enjoyed it.
Yes, it has its ups and downs. Been a lot of changes, a lot of challenges along the way. Mm-hmm. But the way that everything, I'd say, just the way that people interact with, you know, online channels just has changed so much over the years. But that means that you have to be kind of thinking about what the next way, shape or form of a website should be, or in terms of how they're going to interact with that advert, etc. The fundamentals are still there. You've got to attract, engage, and effectively persuade them to purchase. It's just the speed at which now we can develop marketing in general online is literally it's too quick. I think the actual I think we're finding that the technology is, although it's helping us to kind of speed up the processes and the analytics, etc. It's even faster now, and obviously with AI, it's ballooned now to a crazy level. So it's exciting. It's certainly I'd say it's not for the faint-hearted for sure. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's been enjoyable, he says.
Says through gritted teeth.
Yeah.
It's funny, isn't it? Because as I'm talking, I'm getting all nostalgic now, but as we're talking, Tony, I'm kind of thinking, you know what, when I launched my first website back in 2002, marketing was literally launching the website, right? And search engines managed to pick it up. And there weren't that many websites back then. So you tended to get on page one. Mm-hmm. And people were sort of, they would buy it and then they would call to make sure you were legitimate because they felt twitchy about giving you their credit card details. But marketing, in some respects, as we know it now, didn't exist. That whole, the whole realm of digital marketing. But what did exist was the fundamentals, as you say, sort of old school principles. The website had to attract people. It had to make sense. You had to deliver a great service for those people to come back and buy again. These things have always been sort of timeless, haven't they? Even sort of pre-internet. And one of the things that sort of strikes me about a lot of e-commerce entrepreneurs, a lot of conversations I have, in essence, I can summarize in a single statement, is that a lot of people are looking for the silver bullet. Like, if I just pull this one lever, like if I spend 10 grand on Facebook ads, or if I do TikTok or whatever it is, whatever the latest thing is, I'm going to pull that lever and it's going to make me a millionaire, right? Do you get a lot of these inquiries?
Yeah, a hell of a lot. We get, I think generally speaking, they think one channel will save it all. And the reality of it is that there's got to be about 10 channels. There's 10 levers you can pull. There's just, but each one works in its own way, but contributes to each one. Basically, you can't run, you can run paid advertising. That's fine. But if you put your eggs in one basket, then your e-commerce brand is only worth as much as a paid ad campaign. If you're not generating content or social proofing, SEO, etc. I personally wouldn't buy an e-commerce brand if they didn't have organic traffic sales attributed to SEO, because anybody can throw money at it. So they'll come in and say, okay, we need to do TikTok. Well, you need to do TikTok, but where's the brand? Where's the positioning? Where's the social proofing? Is the product fit for the audience? So I think it's become, I don't know if that answers the question, but yes, lots of times. Can we just do SEO? No, you can't just do SEO. Or can you do, can we just do TikTok shop and forget about anything else? Kind of, it's possible, but there's a ceiling on that as well. So I think it's just got a lot more mixed, it's now, multi-channel, I'd say. You can't, that's most of the conversations now are, we're running 5 channels. We think 1 or 2 are potentially not working, or we're leaving money on the table. And that's where, we would get involved and say, okay, let's look at the numbers. Let's look at the audience. Let's look at the attribution, make sure everything's, firing on all cylinders. But normally you can't, there's no silver bullet. No, there's no silver bullet.
No, I would agree. I think you get to a stage where you hear stories of somebody on YouTube who managed to pull off a miracle, and then they do a YouTube video about it.
Yeah.
But I think for most people, actually, you're right that digital marketing now is evolved and is evolving to such an extent that it is impossible, I think, for a solo entrepreneur who is doing e-commerce to keep up with what the changes are and to keep up with like if I was just running my e-commerce business, we have a team of people, but how would I find the time to do the SEO, to do the blogs, the content, the social media, make the videos, run the paid ads, make sure my email marketing campaigns are up to date, do the abandoned cart flows. Do you know what I mean? Do my silly dance on TikTok. I appreciate that's not just TikTok now. I'm being facetious.
I've done one.
We've all done them, to be fair. But do you know what I mean? There's so much going on. That it is. I think it's almost impossible now to try and to keep up with it as a solo entrepreneur. You genuinely need help, I think.
I think the key is prioritization, because you could just go at all of those, all 20 elements that you just mentioned, but it's prioritizing and putting it in an order You know, I think that's the key really, because there's two, you know, and looking at every single channel and reviewing actually what's the potential return on investment from that channel, and can I put the investment from that channel into the next channel, or, you know, and then dial everything up. That's where I've seen most e-commerce businesses that are thriving, is that they've had a clear analysis of all the channels, all the tactics, and then gone with quite a methodical path there in terms of how they reinvest, etc. I mean, some of our early clients from from 2000, 2005, they're really early, and they went from mail order, you know, ordering stuff in magazines, cutting all the magazine spend and saying, right, what's the internet all about, Tony? And they said, I was thinking, oh God, okay. So basically it's an online catalog, you know, and okay, well, I'm number one in all the magazines because I'm spending, you know, £20,000 on a every single month, and mags then was quite significant. But the ones that kind of I'm not saying like they listened, but the ones that actually started thinking about this looks like a potential. This is where my mail order is going to go. They literally launched their websites in a catalog online point of view. It wasn't actually commerce at that point necessarily. It was all about getting online, and they would get the phone calls, keep getting phone calls from it. And they soon realized that the more they put into paid ads, it was like the more exposure they were getting in magazines. It's the same principle. That worked. And don't forget, Google ad PPC then was impression based from 2000 to 2000,
and it was cheap.
Exactly. And it not like it is now, but I mean the whole kind of click, you know, pay per click didn't really, I don't think it came in until I think it was something like 2002, 2004 maybe, something like that, but it was all impression based before then. But I think it's the fundamentals. I keep saying it, you know, to various kind of brands that come on board, especially challenger brands. The fundamentals of advertising hasn't really changed. It's just the channel by channel and prioritizing the numbers as well.
So let's talk about that. How would you go about prioritizing? So here I am. I'm an overworked, overwhelmed is probably a better word. E-commerce founder. It's okay, but you know, I feel like my life is non-existent in many ways. How do I prioritize? How do I look at what I'm doing and going, right, this is the best way to prioritize my marketing?
I guess obviously, you know, we can't control the operational side of a business. We can forecast sales increases so they don't buckle under the load. That's one element. But in terms of prioritizing, you know, there's quite a few that we've met, you know, that are 7 days a week. They're in the business. They've got, you know, they've got maybe 10, maybe 20 staff, something like that. They're constantly in the business all the time. Introducing automation when it comes to a lot of their activities is key. And helping them sieve through. I mean, there's the technical sides of a website, so you automate a lot of the activity as well. You know, email automation is one, so they don't have to do anything manually there. We take away a lot of the stress in terms of whether it's content, you know, the content strategy, and actually delivering that strategy for them. So the key is to kind of work out what their strengths are and work alongside them or their existing teams, really. Because it is tough to kind of pull away and give everything to an agency. And we never say that to a client. We never say, I don't think anybody should say like, here's everything, crack on. I think it's the kind of understanding what they should and shouldn't be doing in-house at that given moment in time. I'm always one for actually having a conversation to say, like, we want to get you to the X level. We want you to be in a position where you can actually, you know, get your own team to do X, Y, and Z. We still want to be here. We still want to be helping you run the strategy and the real technical pieces, but we see you kind of growing your content team. Because I think it's a slightly off tangent, but content has always been king for many, many years before I was born. You know, it's always been about, that's where advertising and engagement comes from, the creativity, the content, and it still is to this present day. And brands need to bring a lot of that in-house. Comes an overhead, but the control of that, it makes our lives easier as agencies as well. That we run the strategy, we will share that tactic with them and come up with a content strategy. But everything comes from that content. SEO comes from content. Paid ads comes from content as well. Meta, etc. Digital PR. It's all content driven. We see a lot of brands bringing that in house, and I applaud that. I'd say I'd encourage it more and more so. But there's no silver bullet when it comes to, how do we de-stress an e-commerce entrepreneur? Well, they're either surviving because a lot of them have launched post-COVID, thinking they can sustain that level of revenue.
Yeah.
And that's where we give them a bit of a reality check in terms of, okay, you're wasting time in that area. Let's not focus on that area. Let's go for the low hanging fruit, as they say.
And the quick wins.
Yeah, and I dare say that, but there are quick wins. There still are quick wins, and that comes back down to prioritization.
Yeah, I find that actually that depending on who you talk to, depends on where the quick wins are. So there's I can't write a book and say these are your top 10 quick wins, because every business is different, right? Every business is unique. But I could quite easily write a book, go, these are the principles of marketing, read through this and the quick wins will become obvious. That kind of thing. It's which I think is probably a more successful route forward. But I like how you talked about figure out what your strengths are, because I have this I have a manifesto, Tony, because I like manifestos. Actually, it's just a fancy name for a bit of writing that I did once, where I liken most e-commerce entrepreneurs, I call them digital Davids, the David and Goliath story. And I paint Amazon and Walmart as the Goliaths because, I can and make them the bad guy. And David won the battle with Goliath because he played to his own strengths. And one of the questions I get asked, a lot, and I appreciate on the podcast I use this I get asked a lot of questions, and but this one I do get asked a lot is like, how do I beat Amazon, right? And I think actually you've got to play to your strengths is the answer. You've got because the one thing Amazon can't be is you. No,
they can't be you and your brand.
They can't be your positioning. They can't be your brand, what you stand for, and all that sort of thing. They can't. They don't have your values. They don't have your tone of voice. They don't have your ability to tell a story.
Yeah,
they're just a big machine which sells stuff.
Yeah,
but you've got stuff that's got a story, and so how do you bring that out? And so I like what you say. Play to your strengths, and everyone has to think about content.
And brand, you just hit the nail on the head as well. I've seen a lot of e-commerce brands now building their brand more so than ever before. So building the personality, getting that personality in the forefront. A huge amount of kind of brands that I'd say 90% of them have come to us, and actually they've come to us thinking, "Oh, I need paid ads, I need Meta, etc." And we've like, "No, you need to get your story actually above." I'll call it above the fold because that was a thing, but it's not in, they're not selling their story, and there's so much more kind of engagement when it comes to customers these days, that they want to know about the founder of X brand that is, that came from such and such fashion brand originally, and they stand for X, Y, and Z. A lot of this information is hidden on websites sometimes, especially with the independent brands. They don't think that actually I need to bring that to the top as a story. So once you're bought into it, you're bought into their story, you're bought into them, you're bought into the brand, you're bought into the product, and you've basically bought something in the checkout, out the checkout. So.
No, it's totally true. I'm with you all the way. And I think, I see a lot of websites which are cookie cutters. They're a carbon copy of somebody else's in their market because they feel this is what I need to do. I mean, we were joking before we recorded. Can you build me a Banggood website for $5,000 or whatever? It's like, no, just no. But you kind of have this sense, this is what my website should be. website should be. Sorry, kids.
For the bad ones.
Yeah, they are the bad ones. Yeah. But at the same time, this tension of brand, of your voice, of telling your story well, I think I became more aware of it when Toms became a thing.
Oh yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And you looked at that and you thought, well, blimey, they've managed to use this brand, this story so well that it kind of threw the world upside down a little bit at that point. And I know that there were other brands around at the time, but that was the one that stood out for me. I don't know what stood out for you.
So many. Can't think now, actually. Put me on the spot.
This is what we do. Well, let's take you off that spot. Let's talk about this report that you guys have put together, 2020X. Tell me about that.
Yeah, so last year we reached out to CMOs, e-commerce brand managers, etc., and asked them to fill out a survey around their challenges, what they see next, etc., and what they see as basically what they see as the next big thing, and really what they're doing and what they're not doing, etc. So we collated all this this information together, and the general consensus was that everything seems to be coming from a central piece of work that they're not doing enough of, but they're aware of, and it's looking after the customer journey and the customer experience on whatever platform and the website. So everyone thinks like customer experience or CX is just the website, but it's not. It's every single platform basically.
Yeah,
and pretty much everybody knows that they knew they need to increase the customer experience to increase the conversion, but they were focused so much on short-term wins rather than looking at the long-term strategy, etc.
Yeah.
But they know they need to do that, and I think that's the pressure that brands are under. Within the report, it kind of goes on about what their biggest challenges are. It's the fragmented of data. So they're so stuck in data, they're spending more time knee deep in the data and actually not thinking about the customer experience, where in actual fact, it's equally as important. I get data is important. Don't get me wrong. We live by it with the campaigns that we run. But that was one fundamental challenge that they need to resolve, but they're admitting that they're not doing it fast enough. They're just not reacting. And game-changing kind of insights that they were thinking of, the likes of obviously TikTok Shop, their live shopping as well. It's something that came up as well. I believe that as well, in terms of, I agree with that. I think certain countries out there, I think China are sort of smashing it from that point of view. It is coming here, and it is, basically QVC on steroids online.
It is,
and I think it's going to bounce quite high when it really takes off. In this, I know it's already here, but it's. I don't think we've seen, enough of it, and I think it's coming. And that's
I'm always surprised at how little it's been done here, considering the success of QVC.
Yeah,
and considering the success of live shopping in certainly in Asia, like you say, I was always surprised that Instagram never figured out that if it did live streams, it could have a buy now button on. Do you know what I mean? And you could integrate that somehow with social selling, which TikTok obviously, they've done that. So there's a lot of questions I have, like, why is this not taken off? But I'm with you in the sense that live shopping, I think, is going to become one of those things which is more and more of a bigger deal, to the point where I've been talking to the guys in our team, like, can we carve out space in the warehouse to create a studio, like a live TV studio? It doesn't have to be big.
No.
We have a podcast studio, obviously, down there. And I'm in the podcast studio at my house. But having a podcast studio and a live TV studio, I think those two things are fast becoming like non-negotiables, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But so I'm intrigued that you mentioned that.
Well, the other aspect as well is if we want to see a survival of retail, independent retailers, let's just take them as an example. I see no reason why on their slow days, whether it's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, whatever, that they shouldn't have a pop-up in their shop of a live piece, out the back, etc. Those they can create that commerce on those days with their live feeds, because all we're doing with the live feeds is we're pushing ads to the live feeds. It's as simple as that. Get a live feed, get an agency, or if you can do it yourself, and promote the hell out of that live feed to that audience, which we know we can get you in front of. It's a no-brainer. And for me, if it's an independent retailer that's thinking, okay, these days are really slow, we hardly get that many sales on Mondays, well, turn it into a live shop day, and just get a cube and get filming, or get a counter, or whatever it is. It's if you sell ice cream, or not ice cream, but it doesn't matter.
No, I'm gonna sell ice cream and start doing live show, and I'm gonna use it as an excuse for my wife that I have to go and eat ice cream.
Exactly. But I think that's an opportunity. I think for independent, it wouldn't cost them that much to kind of get set up.
No, especially like you say, if they've already got a store. Whereas I don't have a store for my e-com sites. It's just a boring warehouse. I have to build a studio.
Yeah.
Whereas you're right. I think for a lot of people, they don't actually have to do that. Yeah. And you can use what you've got. You don't need the fancy. I was watching a guy who set up a YouTube studio, spent like £250,000 on the studio. You're just like, holy moly. I think you can do everything on your iPhone these days.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, because I think some of the best raw kind of footage that you see these days that goes viral is off an iPhone anyway. So
it's interesting, isn't it, how this sort of, and what works well on TikTok Shop and what works, user-generated content works well. It's not polished. It's not like do you know what I mean? These are just, and you get that best off your iphone rather than the £7,000 Sony camera.
Yeah, it's almost as if it's authentic, because it's a bit raw, and it's a bit, it definitely is that. And we've had a lot of success from user-generated content. It really works. The rawer the better, because it just looks like it's natural, and it's authentic as such.
Yeah. I mean, how long that trend lasts for, I've no idea. But while it's there, use it, because chances are you've got the capacity to do it in your pocket, right? So get on it. Exactly. What other things did your report bring out that were interesting?
Well, I'll be honest with you. Everything was, everything seems to, it kept pointing to CX, really. I think that it pretty much cemented, that everyone was aware that lack of content was key. They need to bring content in house to get the kind of, to get the control, I'd say.
And the brand voice, isn't it? The story, the tone, and all that sort of things, which you can't outsource.
Yeah, that was really key. The need, like I said, knee deep in data was stifling them. That was another area as well. Just trying to think off the top of my head, actually. I think the customer experience is everything, and I think they all massively. They all sounded like gutted, basically, that they weren't on top of it.
Yeah. On top of the
thinking I think the big thing was the fact that they know they need to be thinking further ahead for longevity and sustainability. That I think is key, especially for a brand that is trying to compete in a saturated market as well. The only way of doing that is thinking ahead and showing that showing that the brand and the personality is there. I think off the top of my head is that I think it was about 60% said that customer experience really matters to them the most, but only about, I think it was only 30% actually doing anything about it.
Which is fascinating, isn't it? I mean, but I think that's a common trait amongst business people, certainly in e-commerce. I know what I'm supposed to do. Are you doing it? No. Why not? Well, I'm busy, aren't I?
Yeah.
is the reality of it all,
And it comes from the top as well. If you've got a financial, whoever's in charge of finance, if you've got the FD breathing down your neck and like, we've got to get more, et cetera, and they're trying to fix cash flow with paid media.
Yeah.
That's generally, but paid media is going up. So had you thought about the customer experience and maybe the content, etc., back a year ago, it would be reaping its rewards now.
Yeah,
and that's something that people,
that's so true.
You don't get that taken away from you, because once you've built the brand and built your authority, then you've got that stability. Then it's about protecting and growing there again. Whereas with paid, just throwing money at paid isn't always just it's not the silver bullet as such. It is a bit risky, but don't get me wrong, it absolutely works. But you can't control what Google wants to charge you for a click.
No, and you're right. It's only going to go up. It's never. I've never ever gone into it and gone, "Oh, we're paying less to Google. How nice." that just doesn't compute really. But I totally get what you're saying around the customer experience and just making, because again, this is where I think you differentiate yourself. This is where you become different to Amazon. You become different to your competitors. Is actually that customer experience.
Yeah.
I mean, I've told the story before on the podcast, and if you're new, you won't have heard the story. If you're old, well, here's a friendly reminder. But I remember when we had a beauty company, which I sold a few years ago, but we had a beauty company, and we were sitting down and we wanted to understand why customers bought. The average order value was like 75 quid on beauty products. Now, of course, I'm a fella. I'm the wrong target market in many ways. I spend £4.50 and think I've been overcharged on beauty, as you can tell, right? So the fact that people were spending like 75, 80 quid just astounded me in many ways. And that was the average. And we quickly realized that the customer was buying themselves a gift, a treat. It wasn't just skincare. It was like, this is self-care. This is a gift for myself. And so we thought, well, wouldn't it be interesting? And we bought products from all of our competitors to see how they turned up. Every single one of them came in a Jiffy bag, the padded envelopes, for those of you who don't know what a Jiffy bag is outside of the UK. So the boxes around the skincare were all bashed up. Not that I cared, because I'm taking the skincare out of the box and putting it in the bin. So we put the skincare in a box to protect it. We stopped wrapping it up in the air bubble things. And we started to use popcorn, because the brand, we wanted to be fun. We wanted to be seen as eco.
Wow.
So we thought, well, let's do popcorn. Took us a while to figure that out. We wrapped the whole thing in tissue paper, so it felt like when you open the box, you were opening a gift. Do you know what I mean? We added a bit of extra stuff to the box. The whole exercise meant that every parcel cost me another 2p to send out. But that's when return purchase rates started going through the roof.
Right.
It was just crazy. And so we were like, well, this is interesting, because it worked well, because we thought about the customer experience. As in, what do they experience? What do we need to help them feel more of?
Yeah.
For them to really, connect with our brand.
And I think whether, if you're an e-commerce brand and you're running all the main channels, I think if you ask each channel head and say, what, understand if you're understanding the customer experience and you're in SEO, you have to. And I think if everybody understands what that customer experience is for that brand, then everybody can work in unity, and it all has this compounding effect, I think, because anybody working in SEO, anybody working in paid, anyone working in social, they should understand right now that there's an increasing competition all the time. So understand the customer, because that's going to win you more hearts. It's the rising cost of acquiring sales is getting more, but and again, you can counter that to a degree by customer experience, conversion on a website. If we can increase that, that's going to help. Making sure that the customer realizes, it's a customer all the time, it's a customer in the middle, but creating the differentiation as well with your brand as well. Is it different? If it's not, then what's the point? And yes, you can drive new customers, but you have to be really good at customer experience, because you want to drive those repeat sales back again. And it's all about sustainable, efficient, efficient growth. And that comes back down to knowing the numbers, really. Efficient growth. And the FD at the top then is going to be happy. because you can start to forecast at least when you've got repeat customers, can't you? You get a pattern. Whereas if you can't forecast, the FTE is going to be like pulling their hair out.
Well, once you've got the pattern, you've created value for the business, right?
Yeah.
So I go out. I don't know if you do this, Tony, but I go and acquire other ecom businesses, right? So I do that, and I'm a equity partner in a number of businesses now, and we're always looking at. Once I get involved, I'm like, how can I increase the value of this business, right? So if it was sold to whoever, from private equity down to whoever, how do we maximize the value? And that predictable cash flow is quite extraordinary. So if I took a business, just a standalone business that sold one-offs widgets, it would be worth probably at the moment, if I'm being totally honest, maybe 2 or 3 times EBIT, right? It's just that's how you would value a business at the moment. It's not what it was at all. But if I took those same customers, made the same profit, but did it on a subscription business as opposed to a one-time purchase business, well, I'm starting to get multiples instead of 2 and 3. I'm starting to get multiples of 4 and 5. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
So I've doubled the business with it, or doubled the value of the business without really massively increasing anything else because of that predictable income. Yeah. And so, no, you're totally right. That whole value side is interesting.
I mean, I think I read somewhere that acquiring a new customer pretty much costs you anything from 5 to 25 times more than retaining the current one. So why would you not invest some time in terms of understanding your existing customers and trying to flog to them again?
Yeah,
and again,
no, you totally would.
And again, I think it's common sense. You used to go into a shop, you get a good customer experience, you'd go back. It's just because it's online doesn't mean it's any different.
Yeah. No, it's very true. Very true. Tony, listen, but I'm aware of time, and it is fast approaching at the end of our recording session. So let me ask you, if people want to reach out, if they want to connect with you, I think actually people need to go download this report, which is on your website. So maybe tell people how to do that.
Yeah, sure. If to reach out, probably the easiest way is LinkedIn. Just punch in Tony Conte, Brave Agency. Be able to see my profile. I've got a little lion next to my name because the lions are brave.
Is that what it is? Little Leo the lion's nice and brave.
That's it. Yeah. Our report is. You can download the report at. I won't even bother with a www. Because that's old school, isn't it?
It is, but you've done it now, so
yeah. Brave.agency. There you go.
It is funny actually when it comes to using these non-usual domains like .agency, .digital. I feel the need to put www just to make it really clear to the person in front of me that I'm talking about a website. Yeah. So if it was braveagency.com, you would never do it, but because it's brave.agency, you're like, I just feel I need to say www just to clarify it's a website, just in case you don't know that .agency is a website.
I wonder if some people actually know what www stands for. Do you know what I mean? God.
We should probably do certainly with I should ask my kids. What does www stand for?
I bet half of them don't know.
When was the last time you typed in www to a search browser? No. I just don't even
When was the last time you used the internet? A website. Now there's a scary thought.
Yeah. Well, that's a whole nother topic of a whole nother podcast right there. Yeah. But Tony, man, listen, it's been great to connect and great to meet with you. Thanks for coming on and enjoyed the conversation and going down memory lane a little bit.
Cheers.
With another e-commerce dinosaur. No, pioneer. I think
dinosaur.
But there we go. What a fantastic conversation. Huge round of applause. Let's do this. Yes. Massive round of applause to Tony for that's enough applause. Massive round of applause to Tony for joining me today. Now, be sure to follow the e-commerce podcast wherever you get your podcasts from, because we've got some more great conversations lined up, and I don't want you to miss any of them. And in case no one has told you yet today, let me be the first. You are awesome. Yes, you are. Created awesome. It's just a burden you've got to bear. Tony's got to bear it. I've got to bear it. You've got to bear it as well. Oh, yes. Now, the e-commerce podcast is produced by Pod Junction. You can find our entire archive of episodes on your favorite podcast app. The theme song was written by Josh Edmondson. And as I mentioned, if you'd like to read the transcript, the show notes, all that good stuff, they're available on our website at ecommercepodcast.net. No www required. And incidentally, you can also sign up to the newsletter. But that's it from me. That's it from Tony. Thank you so much for joining us. Have a fantastic week wherever you are in the world. I will see you next time. Bye for now.